about, like, you obviously give a long leash to your fighters about, what they can say when they are up there with a UFC microphone and you are getting into territory of homophobia, transphobia. Like, is there,
I don't give anybody a leash.
well, I'm saying you,
A leash?
like,
Free speech. Control what people say. Going to tell people what to believe. Going to tell people. I don't tell any other human being what to say, what to think, and there's no leashes on any of them. What is your question?
I was asking that question. I'll move on though.
Yeah, probably a good idea. That's ridiculous to say I give somebody a leash. Free speech, brother. People can say whatever they want and they can believe whatever they want.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and what an amazing weekend for free speech. I've got a big story about a massive content creator, content creation company leaving YouTube in favor of Rumble. No big deal. But let's start up in America's hat, in Canada, where Justin Trudeau was getting absolutely obliterated by the entire crowd at this weekend's UFC event where Sean Strickland lost by decision in his fight. But more importantly, after the incident, after the crowd dunked on Trudeau the whole time, after the events, Dana White was interviewed by yet another woke Canadian reporter. And a lot of people might just point out, might be saying something about, this being a Canadian thing, and it isn't. These same reporters are here in the United States, and they're all trying to bait. This one was trying to bait Dana White, and it did not go well. Like earlier in the week, when I don't know if it's the same reporter or not. It doesn't sound like it. A different reporter tried to bait Sean Strickland into some political debate and got absolutely nuked from orbit. This time, another reporter went to Dana White and tried to talk about how he gives his fighters a leash and things of that nature. And, well, it didn't go well. And, of course, the woke media is having an absolute meltdown over it, and you just love to see it. Make sure you leave a like on this video. And if you haven't yet, please do subscribe or follow down below. And, hey, huge announcement to make on my Rumble stream today, over on my Rumble channel at 1 Eastern. I really hope you'll take a moment to tune in today to the live show, and we'll talk about some pretty spicy stuff. Of course, link in the description. So let's get to this clip.
When the trash talk between Sean and Dreykus got a little dark there with the child abuse and then the 296, did you ever consider going to those guys and saying, hey, this might be the one time you need to tone it down?
So he's bringing up the last event, 296. This weekend was 297. Trying to, tell Dana White, you need to get these guys in order. You need to put them on a leash, I guess. And this already sets him off.
This might be the one time you need to what?
Tone it down, the trash talk.
I don't tell anybody to do anything. I don't try to control any other human beings in any way, shape, or form. They do it I say it all the time, we're in the fight business, and, if you get your feelings hurt that bad, you probably shouldn't ask the type of questions when you know the answer you're going to get from Strickland.
So now he's calling out the reporter who, tried to bait Strickland and got his feelings hurt.
Let's start there. You know what I mean? If you ask him, you know who he is, and if you ask him a certain question, he was baited in that question.
I'm not, sorry, my mistake. Not referring to that question. Just, Strickland got.
Yes, he is. He's there. It's all referring to, that these reporters in Canada. And by the way, again, it's the same crap here in the United States with these reporters. They're very, very upset that Sean Strickland was mean.
I know what you're saying. Okay. I know what you asked me. It is what it is. It's the fight business, man.
You obviously give a long leash.
This sounds like a different guy, I think.
To your fighters about, what they can say when they are up there with the.
This is the second question, by the way. I don't know if there were multiple more at the presser, but this is the second question where some reporters bent out of shape that he doesn't make his fighters bend the knee and say BLM or something.
UFC microphone, and you are getting into territory of homophobia, transphobia. Is there?
I don't give anybody a leash.
Well, I'm saying you.
A leash?
Like
Free speech.
What? What the reporter is trying to say is there, well, you're giving these fighters a platform, and the UFC name is on what they're saying, and I don't like that. Now, let me be very clear. This very same reporter would, I guarantee you, have no problem if, let's say, one of the UFC fighters had said, something incendiary about Trump, or he said, everyone make sure and go get the jab, you idiots. I'm sure they wouldn't have any problem with that. It's never the problem. It's never a problem with allowing free speech with these people. It's allowing counter narrative speech. They're all for free speech when you're saying burn it all down. Hashtag BLM, hashtag never Drumpf. They're fine with people like Maxine Waters telling people to take it to the streets. They're fine with all that stuff. But they're not fine if it's something against the narrative.
I don't give anybody a leash.
Well, I'm saying you.
A leash? Free speech. Control what people say. Going to tell people what to believe. Going to tell people. I don't tell any other human being what to say, what to think, and there's no leashes on any of them.
I wonder how he saw that going. I wonder if that's how he saw that going. Of course, UFC Dana White delivers pro freedom of speech response after being asked about Sean Strickland's tirade. I don't exactly view that as a tirade. I don't even necessarily have to agree with everything Sean Strickland says or whatever, but he has a right to say it. The UFC is probably the last place he can say it. You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of another sport, at least in the West, who actually allows their, representatives to have their own opinions. And of course, the meltdown begins. UFC Dana White defends Sean Strickland after homophobic rant. Free speech, brother. Yeah, that's what it is. You don't have to agree with everything everyone says all the time, and I don't, right? But they have a right to say it. This is a foreign policy, and it seems like ever more foreign, even here in the United States. But in other countries where they don't have a First Amendment, it's even different. You go to Canada, you go to the UK, where people are getting put, or Ireland right now, where they want to put people in jail for memes. It's a different animal. You see, following the calls for Strickland to face some sort of punishment for his phobic comments, UFC President Dana White made it clear he had no such plans. White made it clear he neither condoned nor denounced Strickland's comments. He told that the press he had no interest in policing fighters' beliefs. I don't often tell any other human what to say, what to think. There's no leashes on any of them. Great spelling there, pinknews.com, leashes. That's ridiculous. Strickland had come under fire after he was asked by a Canadian journalist, Alexander Lee, to address phobic comments he made in 2021, in which he had suggested that if he had a gay son, he would believe he had failed as a man. Well, it's just his opinion, right? When answering Lee's question, Strickland directly targeted another misspelling, the reporter, Canada, and Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. After asking Lee whether or not he was gay or if he had voted for Trudeau, Strickland then called the reporter a weak man and went on an unrelated tangent about Trudeau, who is a supporter of LGBTQ rights. Yeah, and he didn't say anything about that, did he? He talked about Trudeau locking his country down. He talked about Trudeau seizing bank accounts. He talked about Trudeau going after the trucker convoy. He didn't actually say anything about Trudeau being LGBTQ whatever. Castro's son or whatever people say. That's despite Strickland hailing from California, a state which is more accepting and supportive than most. Last year, California's governor signed a raft of protections for the LGBTQ community and passed a law to prevent their books from being removed from classrooms. while California's Attorney General Rob Banta ceaselessly challenged the school districts and toyed with introducing policy to out trans students to their parents. Strickland later added in his tangent that everything that is wrong with the world is down to the LGBTQ community and their allies. No, that is not what he said. He called the reporter everything wrong. He talked about the reporter being everything wrong with the world. He called the reporter a virus. He talked about somebody who was trying to suppress free speech, somebody that was trying to silence him. And just look at these comments, by the way. You know, like you look at the comments on these videos, 109,000 likes. Elon Musk, he's right. That's not a woke Canadian. That's a typical Canadian. That's how they vote. That's how they're governed. That's how they live. I disagree. I know there are a lot of Canadians in my viewership that don't support, you know, suppression of free speech. When it's considered natural to have another human being on a leash, you might want to have a long, hard look in the mirror. Incredible. Canada is lost. These fascists think employees are slaves and should be kept on a leash. Lol. Okay, Canada. Love watching these reporters get wrecked every day now. I mean, you know, I think, you know, it's wild, but this guy points out that if Strickland worked for any company in the United States or any other sports franchise, he would have been suspended. The question was perfectly logical. Well, I disagree with that. I don't think so. I mean, if he had worked for my company, I wouldn't have suspended him, and I'm in a company in the United States. I think it's actually fair to say that if he was in Major League Baseball or if he was in hockey or the NFL and he had said those things, yeah, he probably would have gotten a fine or something like that. You see, lol, it's a good question. If the NBA, NFL, MLB, and even the NHL would have suspended Sean for a lot less, the UFC quite literally gives their fighters a longer leash than any other pro sports league, and rightfully so. It's part of the entertainment. But is it ever too far? No. I mean, I think that extremely common Dana W. Now, you can point out, and I could point out my my issues with Dana White telling me to drink buckets or barrels of Bud Light. I know that was just a business decision. But no matter what happens, you know, no matter what the situation is, he seems to back free speech. And really, you know, everybody, these journalists' jobs are basic. I mean, look at this website. This is, somebody who is terrible at writing, found multiple misspellings in just a 200-word article. These people are all hacks. You know what I mean? Like these people, you know, they want to control speech only so far as when it goes against the narrative. Remember that. If he had said heinous things about Trump or heinous things about the unjabbed or heinous things, this reporter would never have had a single problem with it. We all know that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it. Make sure you tune into my live show at 1 Eastern over on Rumble. Link will be in the pinned comment down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.